Hello, welcome back to the Free Grisaia. This isn't going to bring Chiaki back. Don't take people who still have a future down with you.
これは驚きましたね。言うじゃないですか。銃が怖くないんですか？あなた、風見裕二さん、あなた何なんです？何か妙に重厚慣れしていますね。若者特有の辛い針というわけでもなさそうですし。まるで何度も銃口の前に立ったことがあるみたいに妙に落ち着いている。おもちゃではないことは撃たれたあなたが一番よく理解しているでしょう。
As if to demonstrate, he thrusts forward the muzzle of his gun, the twin barrels coated with black paint to prevent bare metal from flashing a warning to unsuspecting prey, glitter dully in the afternoon sun. None of that matters, Sakashita-san. Respectfully, sir. You're full of garbage. You want to find a new purpose in life? Fine. Good for you. I don't care. But retribution. Who do you think you are? You're just taking out your misery on others. Who died and made you judge, jury, and executioner? Does a shotgun and a hard luck story make you into some kind of holy warrior? Because from where I'm standing, you look more like a condescending, arrogant lunatic. If you had a real reason to deliver retribution, and if you were qualified to play that role, maybe I'd accept your judgment. But I'm not going to play along with the temper tantrum of some idiotic child who can only hold himself together by forcing his misery on others. Don't make me laugh.
これは参りましたね。思った以上に弁の立つ方だ。なんかもう必死ですよね。私を怒らせて天音さんに銃口が向かないようにしているつもりですか？私が怒りに任せてあなたに向けて2発撃ち込めば、弾を込めている間に天音さんを逃がすことができるとでも？あはは、これは参った。なんという勇気。あなた勇者じゃないですか。かっこいいですな。
Alright, I'll permit you to have a crush on me.
ではお望み通り殺してあげましょうか。
Feel free to try. As a rule of thumb, people who bother to spout off threats like, "Do you want to die?" aren't about to follow through on them. When someone wants you dead, they'll kill you, not waste their time giving you a sermon. What this man really wants is to see us cowering on the ground, begging for our lives, ideally with snot running down our faces. Amane?
ほう、どうしました？天音さん。
あなたの娘を見殺しにしたのは私よ。あなたが殺したいのは私でしょ。ユージは関係ないわ。むしろ家族を失ったあなたと同じ被害者よ。
ほうほう、それで？私はどうなっても構わないから風見さんは助けてほしいとそうおっしゃる。
おっしゃるわ。
おっしゃられてもね。さてさて、これはどうしたものか。
死に場所が欲しいなら私がここで一緒に死んであげるから。
Amane!
いいからユージは黙ってて。これは私とこの人の問題なのよ。
はあ、そんなにも大切ですか、この風見さんが。
His face twists into the habitually mocking expression of a man rotten to his core. Amane realizes her mistake. This man had no intention of letting me go from the start. He intended all along to kill me before her eyes, to force her to suffer the agony of losing someone precious to her, and only then take her life. No, it's entirely possible that I was the only target from the very beginning. He may want nothing more than to force Amane into the depths of despair, to leave her stranded in her agony, crawling pitifully through a living hell.
ずっとね、こういう機会を待っていたんですよ。誰もね、私の悲しみなんざ理解しちゃく、私にはね、もうこんなことぐらいしか残ってないんですよ。
You know, you're one heck of a nuisance, old man.
でしょうよ。でなければ意味がない。もっと理不尽をかみしめてくださいよ。それが私の唯一の慰めになるのですから、はい。
最低だわ。
いいですね。もっと私を憎みましょう。もうね、どんどん憎もう。そしてもっともっと苦しみましょう。よし、逃げていいですよ。
は？
だから逃げていいと言っているんですよ。もっと無様にもがくようにして生にしがみつく姿を私に見せてください。はい、よー。ほら、どうした？走れ！
As if stung by the sound of detective blast into the sky, Amane roughly grabs my clothes, pulls me to my feet, and drives me down the rocky path at a dead run. As I'm forcibly dragged into sudden action, my spine creaks painfully, and my wounded shoulder pulses with agony. Amane! Hey, Amane! My voice doesn't reach her ears. Half carrying me, she runs in sheer desperation, frantically putting every inch she possibly can between us and that man.
あの人もう人間じゃない鬼だ。
Amane's tearful, choked voice trembles with terror. Simply fleeing from the mocking laughter behind us is the most we can do. More times than I can count, we lose our footing on the uneven ground. Half crawling over sharp rocks and thick vegetation, we run desperately, directionlessly, thinking only of gaining distance from our pursuer. Whenever we come to a momentary halt, a blast of gunfire gouges the ground only a little behind us. Frantic to keep our legs moving, we eventually lose all sense of where we're going. But as we splash across the small stream Amane and the others had used as their water source, our menacing shadow abruptly vanishes. No, he's here, hiding himself, but watching us closely.
わかるの？
Only by intuition, but I don't think he'd give up so easily either. I'd guess Kashta must be a recreational hunter. The first time we met, he'd approached me with perfect stealth, then vanished like a ghost into the station crowd after our conversation had concluded. Most likely. He's got extensive experience hunting large wild game like deer or bears. Such animals can notice the presence of a typical human being from a good 200 meters away. Hunting such creatures requires the ability to blend perfectly in new surroundings, a skill equally applicable to stalking other humans. This man's a serious nuisance. Ugh.
Yuuji, 怪我は
There's definitely something lodged in my right shoulder. The pain isn't unendurable, but I need to get this bleeding stopped, or things are going to get ugly. That said, in our desperate flight, we left our backpacks and pouches behind at the memorial. We don't have even the most basic of medical supplies on hand.
どうしよう。傷口を縛ろうにも背中と肩じゃ。
That is a problem, but at this rate, Jerk's just going to slowly torture us to death either way. We have to fight back somehow. We have absolutely nothing in the way of weapons on hand. And having been shot, my ability to fight is dubious at best. In that case, Amane, let's split up here and escape separately. He wants to kill me in front of you. If we try to run away together, that's how this will end. Also, it might be unfair of me to put it this way, but I can operate easier alone. I want you to focus on escaping. Of course, I'm not planning just to run. I'll play the decoy, wear him out by pretending to flee, and then turn the tables and crush him. In a fight where you have the added responsibility of protecting someone, this is the better strategy. Please try to understand. This is an order. Answer me, Amane.
やだ。
Amane!
いや、ユージが死ぬなら私も死ぬ。
Nobody said anything about dying.
和樹だってそう言ってた。私は死なない。いつか必ずまた会えるって。そう言ってたのに死んだもん。もう信じない。
Amane.
一人だけ生き残るのなんて嫌なんだよ。今度は私がユージを守る。この命にかけてなんて言えない。私の命なんてきっと汚れていて安いから。でも私はもう逃げないよ。あの時逃げ出した私の罰、あの時の汚辱は今ここで全部注いでやるんだ。こんな歪んだ世界でうつむいたまま生きていくのはもうたくさんなのよ。膝を抱えて座り込んでいた私を立ち上がらせてくれたのはあんたなんだよ、ユージ。だからこれはあなたへの罪滅ぼしじゃないけど、ごめんね、和樹。たとえ今ここでユージと死に別れても、生まれ変わって何度でもユージを探してまたお姉ちゃんになるから。だから今回はごめん、和樹。
Don't apologize. This isn't over yet. Nobody said you could give up. Also, don't hold conversations with dead people. This is exactly why you're always dragging the past around like a ball and chain. Fools only look ahead, crybabies only look behind, envious children only look up, and scornful jerks only look down on others, but they all got tunnel vision. You're no different from that old idiot Sakashita. But nothing, woman. That said, what do I do?
Save しちゃう?
Save. Right. Think here, right? Yeah. Okay, that works. Neat. I think running away separately is the smarter option. Separators. Yep, run away separately. We're in no position to have a debate about this. Amane, please try to understand. This is the only thing we can do right now. It's the strategy that leaves us the highest possibility of surviving. Okay, good girl. I'll be the decoy and run to the right. You break in the opposite direction once he follows. Got it. Break time's over. Get running. Huh. The man's got no patience. Listen to me, Amane. Focus on keeping yourself alive. Don't even think about giving up. I'm not Kazuki. I'm going to survive this, and I'm going to hold you in my arms again. The only thing you need to do is believe in me and run. Understand? I've been running for a very long time now, from many things. I ran away from this mountain, deserting my friends. I ran away from those who blamed me, hiding myself from their eyes. I ran from my own guilty conscience, using Yuuji as my refuge. Okay, now Amane, using Yuuji as my refuge. If Yuuji thinks he can protect me by pretending to flee, I can do the same for him. No matter what, I'll never run again. This time, it's my turn. I'll get Yuuji out of here alive. But to achieve that, I need a way to fight back. I need a weapon. That said, we left all our luggage back at the monument. And even then, we hadn't packed anything that might serve as a weapon. A rock or tree branch off the ground would probably be more effective. What do I do? As I move my hand through the pocket of my jeans in search of anything useful, my fingertips brush against a folded sheet of paper. The memo Kazuki left me with all those years ago. And on the final page, there was a roughly sketched map to the hidden stash we've been planning to unearth. What did Kazuki leave behind for me? When I was in trouble, Kazuki would always save me. For some reason, I feel like she's going to help me one last time. To be perfectly honest, I can understand how Captain Sakashi's father feels. Sometimes the pain of losing someone you love can prove simply unendurable. Rationally, he knew that it was nothing but a cruel accident. For a while, he accepted that, but I understand why he came to despise me, the one and only survivor of that nightmare. Why did I survive? Why not his daughter? What was so different about us that our fates had diverged so sharply? It's no surprise that he might conclude I was a coward, a traitor, a monster. It was the most comforting possible interpretation. Maybe the only one he could bear to accept. That comforting bitterness slowly twisted his thoughts until at last, Amane murdered my daughter became his truth. For years and years, that hatred built up in a dark corner of his mind, fed by misery and pain, given no outlet, no release. With the spark of my classmate's message, it must have simply exploded. Unable to endure the overwhelming sorrow of his daughter's death, he transformed it all into hatred against me. That powerful anger gave him the strength to crawl up from the depths of despair. Just as I used Yuuji to bury my pain, that man found refuge in his loathing for me. I understand. I really, truly do. All too well. But even so,
それにユージを巻き込むことだけは絶対に許せないよ。
after reaching the spot indicated on Kazuki's map, I began to dig into the earth using a tree branch. Every time I thrust into the rocky ground, the rough branch pierces my palm with painful splinters. Even so, I pushed it into the earth again and again, begging for help.
カズキ、助けて。ユージがピンチなんだよ。ねえ、お願い、助けてよ。
The stash isn't buried as deeply as I had expected. Soon enough, a dirty blue core emerges from the earth. This was something that had belonged to the basketball club. We'd searched the overturned bus high and low for it, but never found it. We'd ended up deciding it must have gone flying out of the window as we tumbled down the cliff, but after years buried beneath the earth, the words Takizona Private Academy Basketball Club that we'd written on the side in permanent marker had faded to an illegible smudge. But other than that, the plastic box doesn't seem to have been damaged.
一体何が入っているの、カズキ。
I snap open the buckles that were locking the core's lid in place and gently swing it open.
これは。
Inside, I find a large quantity of dirty water that must have leaked through the cracks in the lid, a single kitchen knife, and a plastic Tupperware container. Other than that, there's nothing but soggy garbage decayed beyond recognition.
この包丁は。
I remember it well. This is the knife I pointed at my neck on that day. The knife Kazuki gently took from my shaking hands. Why is this here? Whatever the case, I have a weapon now. The only other item that hasn't rotted away to nothing is the opaque white piece of Tupperware. When I take the damp plastic container in my hand and give it a tentative shake, something inside makes a dry rustling sound. Offering a silent prayer to nothing in particular, I slowly peel off the lid, by now half fused to the container below. Inside, there's a folded sheet of white notebook paper. With trembling hands, I unfold the letter and begin to read. my dear best friends, Will Amane. First of all, congratulations on getting out alive. If you're reading this letter, I expect several years have passed since the accident, and you're finally beginning to calm down and face up to what occurred here. I'm sure you opened this box in search of answers, an explanation of the events after your escape. Therefore, I'll now give you the executive summary. Everyone died from illness. Surprised? Well, I should think so. Very well then, I'll give you a short rundown of the particulars. The trigger of these events, that is to say, the ultimate cause of their deaths, was eating improperly prepared meat. Any animal carries its share of dangerous bacteria and germs within its body, and I'm afraid this one was consumed under unsanitary conditions. As a result, the group experienced an abrupt outbreak of acute internal disease. Symptoms included shivers, vertigo, fatigue, as well as diarrhea and the dehydration that accompanied it. Within 2 to 4 days of sickening, nearly all were dead. The one who truly saved your life might well have been the germ swarming over that meat. But I know your gentle heart. I'm sure you're giving all the credit to your dear friend, Izami Kazuki, who offered up her body to protect you. I'm sure you offered me so many tearful thanks. Therefore, I've got a favor to ask of you. If my little brother has lost his way, if he's suffering alone, I want you to find him and help him. My Yuuji is a cowardly little crybaby. His kindness is about all he has going for him. A bit of a hopeless boy, really. Even so, he's my one and only brother, and I love him very much. Leaving him is my only regret. If Yuuji happens to be standing next to you as you read this, he's a very fortunate young man. He needs a reliable woman by his side. He's the sort who can't manage anything alone. If possible, I'd like you to watch over my little brother forever. Well then, so long as we're both alive, let's meet again somewhere, someday. Respectfully yours, the greatest friend of your life, Izami Kazuki. P.S. If by some chance you currently find yourself in a life or death situation, take the attached kitchen knife and please do your best to eliminate the threat by your own power. I will no longer save you. Believe in a happier tomorrow, if necessary, fight for it. I firmly believe that you're capable of blazing your own path forward. What does this mean? In the end, what happened to Kazuki? I mean, when did she even write this? Hey, are you alive, or are you dead? Which is it, Kazuki? And how could she possibly know my situation this precisely? Was she even human? Monster feels a lot more convincing right now. I have no idea when she wrote this letter or why. But there's one thing and one thing only I understand very clearly. I understand, Kazuki. Your wish has always been my command.
ユージは絶対に私が守るから。絶対だよ、カズキ。貸せて。
逃げろい。もっと逃げろ。どうしたともっと元気に逃げ回らなきゃ面白くねえだろうが。
Quiet already. Seriously, give him a break here. He may be insane, but the man's still a really good hunter. He's playing with me. It's unbelievably frustrating to know that, but there's nothing I can do about it. Whenever I slow my pace to try and observe his approach, a gunshot instantly rings out, bursting apart a tree a few feet ahead and showering me in sharp fragments of wood. I've been looking to take advantage of the reload time required after every 2 shots, but he's been reloading after every blast, always leaving at least 1 bullet loaded as insurance against a counterattack. Normally, dropping low and crawling concealed along the muddy ground might be the better plan, but it wouldn't do much good here. The guy's got a shotgun. Even a haphazard shot in my general direction has a good chance of hitting me. Given the smallest opening, I could take measures to fight back directly, but after every shot, Sakashina melts back into the thick green forest. He's slowly, methodically pushing me into a corner without the briefest moment of carelessness. Feels like I'm a boxer getting a kick to the face every time I try to pull myself up off the canvas. He's not letting me do a thing. Jerk. Cursing is about the most I can do. Helps with the stress, but very little else. Since drawing Sakashika's attention, I've been grazed by the shotgun's blast numerous times. By now, I'm covered in fresh gunshot wounds, bleeding copiously and drawing breath in wheezing gasps. My vision's beginning to grow dim.
Hi! Doom! Ashi utte doom!
The latest barrage of lethal pellets grazes my right thigh, knocking it violently forward with an impact like a powerful low kick. I pitch forward, crashing to the ground. Unable to even to control my fall, I clumsily smash into the rocky soil. Raising my head, I spit out the gravel and dirt that plunged into my mouth, but that's the most I can manage. I can no longer rise to my feet.
どうしましたか、風見さん。もうおしまいですか？
I'm not your toy, old man. Sakashika's scheme is completely transparent. He's purposely toying with me, tormenting me at length in an attempt to wear out Amane. The man emerges from the woods and advances slowly, staring down at me as he cracks open his shotgun. Ejecting the shell he fired, he retrieves another from the pouch around his waist and pushes it into the barrel.
しかしあの女、あなたを見捨ててまた一人で逃げましたね。最低のクズ女ですよ。どうして皆さんあんなうんこ女をかばうんですかね。
I don't offer an answer to his question. No, more accurately, I don't have the composure necessary to answer it. I crawl forward on the uneven ground. Every breath I take, a gasp. Every frantic beat of my heart, sending more blood spurting out of my wounds.
やっぱあれですか。ビッチだからですか。あのオチとかっていう陰行教員が天音さんだけを見逃したのもやはりそういうことなんですかね。
Quiet. No one asked for your opinion on my woman. I'll kill you, jerk.
まだまだ元気ですね。若いですね。その多すぎる血の気をもう少し抜いてあげましょう。はい。
Hit another gunshot, this time grazing the thigh of my left leg. It's clearly not a direct hit, but as he fired from point-blank range, the impact still knocks my leg violently into the air. It feels hot more than anything else, but that probably just means my sense of pain is beginning to shut down.
天音さん、いいんですか？このままじゃあなたの彼氏、無駄死にをしますよ。
Shut up! Don't call a woman in the middle of a one-on-one fight.
怠慢とか言えるほどの状況じゃないでしょ、あなた。
But even as he sneers down at me, Kashkin methodically reloads the single shell he's fired, remaining fully alert. Amane, stay away. You got that. You don't need to come back. I'll take him to hell by myself. Stand up. You're going to stand up, Yuuji. You weren't trained gently enough to go down this easy, were you?
おお、また立ち上がりますか。根性、ガッツマンですね。何をそんなに頑張ってるんだが。一体何故にそこまで？
For her sake, obviously. If your daughter's life was on the line, you'd go this far yourself, wouldn't you?
確かに。なるほどね。しかしね、あの周防天音にそれだけの価値があるとは私にはどうしても思えませんね。あなた、なんであんなクソ女のために犬死にができるんですか？
Don't be an idiot. I'm off the clock right now. I've got no intention of dying like a dog for anything other than my country.
でも実際にこうしてあなたは天音さんのために傷ついて死にかけているじゃないですか。
I was finally going to have a family of my own. If I die for her, no matter how or where, it'll never be a dog's death.
ああ、所詮はガキの綺麗事ですね。がっかりですよ。だってそうでしょ？あのクズ女、本当に一人で逃げたみたいですよ。あなたがこんな目に遭っているというのに助けに来ようともしない。毒虫だなんだと言われているようですが、心底抱きすべき最低のクソ虫ですね。
I gave her a strict order to stay away. She's a well-behaved, understanding woman.
はいはい、そうですか。わかりましたよ。あなたを餌にしてあのクソ虫女を釣ろうとしていたわけですが、無駄でしたね。残念です。すみませんね、風見さん。こんなくだらん茶番に付き合わせてしまって、今楽にして差し上げますから。
So no, that effect. Much obliged for your trouble. Better sure you do it right, though. If I survive this, it's your turn.
ああ、さいですか。頭吹き飛ばされて生きてる人間がいるならぜひ見てみたいもんですな。はい、じゃあさようなら。
That's it. After all that big talk, this is all I've got. Pretty lame. But Amane got away. This isn't a meaningless death. That's good enough, right? In that instant, the sound of branches snapping, bushes rustling. Don't tell me. Lifting myself up off my back, I turn to look over my shoulder to find my fears confirmed. Amane rushes forward through the forest, a gleaming kitchen knife somehow clutched at her waist, screaming a fierce war cry.
Nani?
Charging forward on a collision course with Kashita, gripping her knife tightly at the hip with two white-knuckled hands. Amane is the very picture of a wrathful demon. The sheer bloody determination and hate in her eyes would make any who see them recall the words, "Death before surrender." Takashita, momentarily overwhelmed by Amane's spirit, flinches slightly before moving to aim the shotgun in his hands. Not missing her chance, Amane lowers her body and closes the last few meters in an instant. Ramming her shoulder into Sakashi's left flank, she swings the knife sheltered at her side up toward his gut. And twisting her waist forward with the thrust, she stabs the blade home with all her strength. Amane! It was a beautiful thrust, as forceful and sudden as a flash of lightning. But why? Why did you come back? You utter idiot.
やらせないよ。ユージには私みたいなしっかりした女がついてるんだ。絶対にやらせない。
Amane leans forward, pushing all her body weight into the knife, twisting it in vicious circles to enlarge the wound. In the next instant, she's blown backward by a point-blank blast from Sakashi's shotgun. Tossed through the air like a doll by the impact, a cloud of scorched blood and pulverized flesh scatters from Amane's stomach. Snarling with rage, Takashi readies his gun for a second shot. Oh no. Amane! A burning red haze fills my mind. Somehow I'm pulling myself up out of a pool of my own blood. Somehow I'm staggering towards Takashi, but slowly, so very slowly. Even in my shock and agony and fury, I understand with painful clarity that I'm moving in slow motion. No! 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 At the instant the muzzle of Sakashi's gun aligns with his line of sight, I realize that he's drawn a bead on my head and instantly twists my body to the side. The lower barrel of the shotgun flashes a brilliant red. The pellets tear past my head, taking most of my left ear with them. I think this is the bad ending. No. Oh, scorching gas hits me full in the face, scalding my open left eye. Even so, I lunge forward blindly, grappling with Sakashida, my hands seeking his throat. No, Amane! No! How dare you do that to her? Takashi swings his shotgun like a club, solidly catching the side of my head with a jarring crunch. My violently concussed brain loses all sense of balance, and I crumble to the ground. No. No, Amane.
そりゃあんた毒虫って言われるよ、天音さんよ。
Oh. I don't know. I don't want to arouse my half-conscious gaze by the sound of Sakashi's insane laughter. Amane.
よう風見さんよ生きててくれたかこいつはラッキーだ待ってな
That actually
今
happened to
この
her.
クソ虫女の目の前でぐっちゃんぐっちゃんのバラッバラに吹き飛ばしてやんよ
Don't do this. Once again, he turns his gun to me, training the barrels on my head, and this time I can't move an inch. End of the line, huh? No, not yet. If nothing else, I've got to save Amane. If I can't do that, I'll really die a useless, meaningless death, like the dog I've always been. Up until now, I haven't done a single worthwhile thing in my entire pathetic excuse for a life. At the end, just once, I want to protect someone I love and go to hell with my head held high. I'm not giving up yet. Come on, Sakasha. I'll gore you to death. My scorched left eye is glued shut, but with a fierce effort of will, I force my right wide open and take in an unbelievable scene.
Ma こいつ噛みつきやがったふざけんな話せクソ虫が犬かてめえクソ血がぐわ痛えこのクソバカ女
話すもんか
This is crazy.
気持ち悪いって言ってんだよほら話せって言ってんだろうぎゃ
絶対に話すもんかせめて腕の一本ぐらいは道連れにしてやるあんたの腕は私が食いちぎって地獄まで持っていってやる
ざっけんななめんじゃねえぞほら
This girl's getting the wedge beaten out of her.
もう一人で逃げ出すのは嫌なのよ一人で生き残ったっていいことなんて何もない苦しいだけだよ
She's just barely alive right
鈴木
now.
と約束したんだよユージだけは絶対に守るって約束したんだ
いいから死ねえよ
ユージありがとうユージ残念だけど本当に残念だけどもうお別れだねありがとう私の罰に付き合ってくれて本当にせっかく和樹にもらったこの命結局私こんな生き方しかできそれでもあんたと出会えて楽しかったこれで私やっといけるよ
No, come on.
ありがとうそしてごめんね
ああなんだこの女本当に人間か化け物めあくそ痛え腕の肉をごっそり食いちぎりやがったふざけやがってこの人食い女がくたばれ
Come on.
おい風見さんよあんたの女頭いかれてんぞ
Maintaining a constant stream of curses, Sakasha pulls Amane's broken teeth from his wound one by one, hurling them onto the ground at his feet with a disgusted shudder. Amane, you fought hard, didn't you? To the very last, you never gave up. Just what I'd expect to see from the woman I fell in love with. You got some real guts. Well done. I'd give you a hand of applause if I could, no matter what anyone says. You're the best woman in the whole world. can run on ahead with that arm of Sakashi's. I'll take care of the rest. Not to worry. I'll catch you up soon. Just sit on your heels and wait.
Taくどいつもこいつも往生際の悪いったらありゃしない。私も人を撃ったのは初めてですけどね。結構しぶといもんなんですね、人間っての。さて、お待たせしましたね。次はあなたですよ、風見さん。
Watching Sakashi's face twist in cruel pressure through my one functioning eye, listening to his indifferent, strangely flat words with my one intact ear, a strange calm wells up within me. It's not that I've given in to despair. It's just that, for some reason, there's only one thought in my mind. A warm, wistful, silly thought, utterly out of place in this cold world. I want to eat her cooking just one more time, and right now, nothing else seems to matter. Pushing 2 shells into his shotgun with an air of finality, Sakashi tries to take a step toward me. Instead, he jerks to a halt and furrows his brow in confusion. I follow Sakashi's gaze toward the ground. Once again, we confront the unbelievable. Amane collapsed limply at Sakashi's feet, has firmly locked her right hand around his booted ankle.
こいつまだ生きてやがんのか。
The color draining from his face, Sakashi quickly tries to shake his leg free, but Amane's grip doesn't falter in the slightest.
おい、この女もう死んでるのになんでだ。なんで離れない。クソ、手を離せ。このクソ虫女が。
Sakashi gibbers madly, his teeth chattering audibly in his mouth. Bringing his shotgun to bear on Amane's body, he fires a shot point-blank range into her back, but her clutching hand doesn't even twitch. She's dead. She's been dead. But even in death, she won't release her grip. I see how it is, Amane. One arm wasn't enough for you. Greedy woman, you'll never change. With my sudden burst of laughter, the last slender thread holding Sakashi to something resembling sanity snaps. Somehow gulping in great mouthfuls of air even as he shrieks, Sakashi kicks his leg frantically into the air, staring with goggling eyes at Amane's white hand, fighting its implacable grip to no avail. Terrifying. Truly terrifying. Is this what human hatred can be? A thing that takes on a life of its own, a spirit that grows only fiercer in death.
Yada! Hanase! Hanase!
The thing clutching Sakashi's ankle is no longer Amane. It's death itself, taking Amane's form. Desperate to shake off that cold hand, Sakashi kicks violently into the air one final time and loses his balance, tumbling hard to the rocky ground as if dragged down by Amane's body. His head strikes a boulder with a wet crack. With a strange little shriek, Sakashi stops moving. Ignoring him, I begin to crawl my way across the ground, through the slippery blood that coats the harsh earth. I drag myself to Amane. I can't. Amane, hey Amane. Somehow reaching her at last, I pull myself to my knees and raise her body from the ground. I looked down into her face. After so many vicious blows, nothing but a swollen mass of shattered bones. She didn't deserve any of this. I can't believe she died. What? Her and mouth full of broken teeth is smiling contentedly in death. Staring into the face of a woman who fought to the death and beyond, a cold emptiness flows into my heart. I can't believe even she died. You grinning poor woman. There wasn't a single thing in your life worth smiling about. If you didn't notice, I was trying to give you something to live for. Idiot, we were still just getting started. How many times did I tell you you weren't allowed to die? There wasn't a single good reason for you to die here, you complete and utter idiot. Even so, Amane died protecting the life of someone she loved. Maybe that was enough for her. Maybe that was what she wanted all along. But whatever the case. Amane, you died a worthy death as a human being. Amane, well done. I'm glad I fell in love with you. I really mean that. When you told me you wanted to take Kazuki's place, I scolded you. I told you there was only one Kazuki, that no one could ever replace her. But the thing is, that's true for you as well. Always has been. No one could ever take your place. As far as I'm concerned, you're the greatest woman in the world. Well then, what do you know, Sakashi-san? It seems I've survived. Hey, do you remember what I told you just a little while ago? That's right, I spelled it out for you, didn't I? If I survive this, it's your turn. Remember that? Sorry to keep you waiting, slipped my mind for a moment there. It's your turn now. I gently pulled the shotgun out of Sakashi's unconscious hands. I haven't been, so I can't speak from experience, but hell might not be so bad once you get used to it, you know? Well, you head along first and send back me a postcard. I'm sure your daughter's waiting for you on the other side. Once again, I failed. Once again, I couldn't protect anyone. If only I could turn back time, it'd all be different. Just one more chance, and I'd pull it off beautifully. Once again, the weight of a woman's death settles on my shoulders. Once again, I'm alone. Holding Amane's battered, cold body in my arms, I stare quietly up into the sky. There's nothing above me, nothing but a single curling column of gunpowder smoke rising silently up into the void. Oh my
Grisaia no
gosh.
kajitsu.
That was so scary. They all of that was a bad ending. I can't believe that. They really put a lot into a bad ending for her. Crazy.
続けちゃう?
Well then, now I will run away with Amane. That's right. I can't leave her alone right now. Alright, we'll run away together. Looking into Amane's face, I find myself growing strangely contemplative. It hasn't been long at all since we met, but somehow I feel like we've been together for many years already. In that short time, I've gained many priceless things from her. For that very reason, the thought that I might fail to save her from this predicament is immensely frustrating. I bite my lower lip, a sudden physical rush of anger spreading hotly through my body.
Yuuji, また血が。とりあえず怪我を。
I glanced down, following Amane's gaze. Probably because I got myself pointlessly worked up. Fresh blood's begun to flow from my wounded shoulder down to my right arm, dripping mud from my fingertips to stain the rocks below with dusky red. The gunshot wound's problematic enough, but the bullet to my head as I hit the ground must have been more severe than I'd initially realized. Without a determined effort to stay alert, the world before my eyes quickly seems to grow dim. Something salty and liquid begins to flow into my eyes. At first, I assume the pain's causing me to sweat heavily, but when I wipe it away with my hand, I discover my forehead has begun to bleed as well. Break time's over. Get running. Huh, the man's got no patience. Alright then, listen up, Amane. We're up creek without the proverbial paddle. To be frank, there's a good chance we're both going to die here, ready to stare down the Grim Reaper. No, you aren't. Thanks for trying, though. Human beings can't acclimatize themselves to the possibility of death as easily as that. The closer death grows, the more the mind flies to sentimentality and reminiscence. Remembering some friend from elementary school, you sniffle like a child, just looking up into the sky at twilight. Tears flow down your face. It takes 3 full days of living with death for the paralysis to set in. Yes, paralysis is the only word for it. Death begins to take on meaning on its own right. It becomes the only thing that does matter. Sometimes, emotions utterly numbed, the survivors stagger into its clutches with a stupid smile on their faces. Might have been the wrong thing to ask of you. Fine, let's try this instead. I'm not a charitable enough guy to roll over and die when someone tries to kill me. I'll fight back every inch of the way, and if it comes down to it, I want the last words out of my mouth to be, not yet. If you want to call yourself my woman, you're going to have to do the same. Since you're so prepared to die, you can do it fighting at my side. Got that?
いいよ。ユージのためなら。
Thanks. I know I'm a stubborn pain, but that's what you signed up for.
ユージ、愛してるよ。
Still it. Don't make me blush. I'll bleed out faster.
今すぐキスしたいけど、後だよね。
Don't ask questions if you know the answer. Alright, let's run.
どこまでもね。
As he licked his lips, dry from the tension of the hunt, Sakashita Keiji stalked cautiously through the jungle in pursuit of his prey. Some 10 minutes ago, his fleeting targets had split up to run in different directions. After a moment's hesitation, he had decided to quietly chase Kazami Yuuji, his initial objective and the more problematic of the two. For some time, the boy had been blundering forward like a wounded beast, not even trying to conceal his flight. A crude sneer spread uncontrollably across Takashi's face as he followed.
ち下手くそめまだ鹿の方がマシな逃げ方をする
Deer flee at full speed the instant they realize they're being targeted, and they won't stop until there's no longer the slightest sign of their pursuer. Even afterward, they'll stand quietly on full alert for 30 minutes to an hour, cautiously ascertaining their safety. If their hunter gets tired of waiting and makes the slightest move, the deer will instantly take flight once more. Back to square one you go. The only thing to do is wait, erase yourself, melt into the forest, clear all emotion from your mind. In time, the deer will decide the crisis has passed and begin to move normally again. That precise instant is your best window of opportunity. Living things are never more vulnerable than in moments of relief. Of course, human beings are no exception. The moment your desperate flight finally brings you to safety is by far the most dangerous. This Kazami Yuuji had piqued Sakashida's interest at first, but his flight had been clumsy, and for the last few minutes he'd shown no signs of movement whatsoever. Perhaps his endurance had simply reached its end.
風見雄二少し買いかぶりすぎたか
That morning, just after he'd called out to Kazami Yuuji for the first time, Sakashida had momentarily felt his breath catch in his throat. Something about the man had set Sakashida's hair on end. It was a familiar feeling, the kind of tension you'd known when confronted by a large carnivore. Kazami Yuuji's eyes were bottomlessly, disturbingly dark. In the set of his youthful, even boyish face, Sakashida thought he'd seen the hint of a powerful, unyielding will, and when those eyes flashed over him, they were very much the eyes of a beast appraising potential prey. Sakashida had seen such eyes before. His instructor at an overseas hunting school had looked at him in the same way. That instructor had spent many years in the Marine Corps, participating in innumerable combat missions, a true soldier who fought many enemies and outlived them all. Until the vision of her right eye failed, it was said that instructor had been the greatest sniper even among the Marine elite. Those black, glittering eyes had possessed true power, not the hollow threat of some city thug's glaring glare, the raw menace of a beast's indifferent scrutiny. His knees had trembled at every glance. Kazami Yuuji's eyes gleamed with the same light as the genuine article Sakashida had once known. When the shock passed, that fact had brought him something like joy. He'd finally found the thing he had been searching for. His goal was revenge for his daughter. He had been searching for something to stand in his way. An effortless revenge would be meaningless. It would be no worthy tribute, no suitable final achievement, unless he was made to labor for it.
それがどうだもう諦めるのか残念だよ
With a short sigh, Sakashida took another step forward, slowly approaching his immobile target. Of course, this movement was executed with perfect stealth. He couldn't afford to be careless yet. There was still a chance this was some form of trap. Squinting in the dim light that filtered through the canopy above, Sakashida cautiously observed the ground ahead. Scattered drops of Kazami Yuuji's blood formed a trail forward into the brush. No obvious traps, but there was no telling what a wound this beast might be capable of. Surely a man with eyes like that wouldn't give up so easily. But in retrospect, there were many things about Kazami Yuuji he didn't understand. How could a boy like that, still virtually a child, have acquired such impenetrably dark eyes? Since he was in Mihama Academy, a box made to keep the sick daughters of wealthy men discreetly out of sight, he must have some unique circumstances, but Sakashida's investigations had yielded little in the way of answers. The moment his informant had told him Amane was in a relationship with Amane, he had gathered all the information he could, none of it particularly revealing. Kazami Yuuji, precise personal history unknown. After an extended period studying overseas, he had transferred to Mihama Academy only months before as a specially invited international scholarship student. He might not even be Japanese. In fact, Sakashida's face-to-face meeting with the man had left him with just such an impression. Kazami Yuuji had spoken without the habitual slang and warped tone you'd expect from a young person these days. His words had been oddly stiff and formal, almost like a foreigner who'd learned Japanese from a textbook. And somehow, the way the boy held himself simply didn't feel typically Japanese. Even his build was unusual. He clearly trained his body intensely, but in a way utterly removed from the bodybuilder's quest for inflated masses of decorative muscle. Kazami Yuuji was lean, sinewy, as if forged for a specific purpose. As Takashi's thoughts rolled uneasily through this litany of incompatibility, something like an answer suddenly popped into his head. An agent from the north. He'd heard something before about a school there that existed for do-gooders killers. After enduring severe training from a very young age, it was said those students who satisfied their standards would be sent off to foreign countries. He had no idea whether there was any truth to the story, but applied to Kazami Yuuji, it felt shockingly consistent. Even that strangely firm and erect bearing, so completely out of place in a modern youth, would be entirely understandable as a military department. Come to think of it, Sakashida's father had been no different. Men who have spent time in the military are permanently left with a different set to their face. Even their way of thinking is transformed. No matter what the situation, they're always simultaneously considering the best and worst case scenario. A soldier, or perhaps a civilian and military employee, a contractor. When his thoughts progressed this far, Sakashida drew to a halt. This is a trap. All of a sudden, Sakashida felt very nearly convinced of that. He stared cautiously through the trees at Kazami Yuuji's white uniform, some 30 meters ahead. Sakashida Keiji was aware that he suffered from a mild case of night blindness, although it had no effect on his daily life. Recently, his astigmatism had been progressing as well. When the lighting grew poor, he had significant difficulty making out the exact shape of distant objects. In the dim, gloomy forest where the treetops intercepted most of the sun's light, he could clearly make out the white school uniform on Kazami Yuuji's back, but there was a possibility the boy was making use of that sharp contrast to deceive him. Once the thought occurred to him, it started to look almost like the jacket had simply been draped over a suitable tree branch. Cursing silently to himself, Sakashida lifted his shotgun to his hip once more. His anxiety and nervous tension rendered his movements somewhat sloppy, and the gun rattled in his hand as he brought it to bear. 30 meters ahead, the uniformed figure flinched in surprise and turned in his direction. Just my mind playing tricks on me. Nothing but a child after all. Lightly exhaling in relief, Sakashida took one step forward toward the white uniform. Exhaling, at that instant, you just let down your guard, didn't you? His face contorted with agitation and fright. Sakashida spun around toward the voice, swinging his gun up to his chest, but there was no one behind him. Wrong way. And once again, the voice was behind him. Sakashida wheeled around a second time, only to find himself facing a large, flat boulder. Realizing the boy had thrown his voice off the wall of stone, he ground his teeth in frustration. Swinging from side to side, his gun and eyes moving as one, Sakashita searched frantically for the source of the voice. Like I said, wrong way.
ふざけるな出てこい
The instant Sakashita screamed those words, he heard a bush rustle with movement a few meters behind.
そこか
But rather than Kazami Yuuji, his eyes in the muzzle of his gun found something else entirely. A long tree branch curved back like a tightly drawn bow. The branch instantly whipped forward into Sakashita's face. A split second after he squeezed his eyelids shut, the rough wooden bow struck him across both eyes, white stars exploding across his field of vision. Sakashita staggered backward, utterly blind. Oh, no. By the time the thought ran through his mind, it was already too late. His arm was jerked behind him, an unseen hand twisted the lever of his gun sharply upward, and the brake action barrel swung open. I told you that was the wrong way, you know. The voice was behind Sakashita again, but this time he felt warm breath on his ear. This can't be happening. His ears ringing, frantic and terrified, Sakashita tried to turn toward his enemies, but just as his head began to rotate, a hand reached out from behind and firmly seized him by the face. As the long middle finger of Kazami Yuji's hand dug savagely into his right eye, Sakashita Keiji shrieked in agony and horror. What kind of a monster is he? The instant the thought ran through Sakashita's mind, a heavy kick to the back of his knee sent him sprawling forward. His head, yanked back against the momentum of his body, came to rest defenselessly against Kazami Yuji's chest, chin up and throat utterly exposed. He's going to kill me! Sakashita's hand, still holding his gun, was pinned against his back. His shoulder and elbow screamed with pain, bones audibly creaking. His weak hand, the only possible means of fighting back, was desperately clutching at Yuji's wrist in an attempt to keep his eyeball in its socket. He was completely powerless. If the man behind him stabbed his throat with a sharp branch, let alone a knife, he would simply die. Even as he screamed the word, Sakashita knew it was a laughable, hypocritical request. He knew this man wasn't about to stop anytime soon, no matter how nicely he asked. But if it distracted Kazami Yuji from inflicting pain on him for even the briefest of moments, any words would do.
お前北の工作員だな
Sorry, not quite. The same dispassionate whisper as always. Under these circumstances, it sounded so pitiless and so cruel that Sakashita involuntarily swallowed all the saliva in his mouth. As the warm liquid made its way down Sakashita's throat, his utterly exposed Adam's apple bobbed violently up and down. Close, though. Everyone always gets so very close.
私を殺す気か
What, you'd think I'd hesitate? Unfortunately for you, I'm used to patricide, especially when it comes to worthless scum-sucking fodders like you.
くそどうしてこんなことに
Very simple, Mr. Sakashita. You only know how to kill prey that doesn't fight back, and you picked a fight with someone who only knows how to kill human beings. Here's a tip. If you want to kill a human being, you need to go and prepare for the possibility you'll be killed instead.
しかし
Oh, the quiet aura. As Sakashita collapses to the ground, I let out a brief sigh and crouched down to strip him of his hunting shotgun and equipment. Using nylon rope and packing tape I find in his backpack, I quickly restrain him.
終わったの
Yeah, somehow or other. Amane tentatively draws near, taking in the scene. Accepting my school uniform from her outstretched hand, I gingerly slip it back on. Staring down at Sakashida's limp, tightly bound body, Amane furrows her brow anxiously.
殺しちゃったの？
Why would I bother tying up a dead man? He's alive.
そうならよかった。
Is it? You do remember who we're talking about here, right?
相手が誰であっても、もう人が死ぬのは嫌だから。
Well, that's understandable. I have no intention of adding another layer to Amane's trauma. That happens to be the main reason this man's still breathing. It's all good in retrospect, since it worked out. But to be honest, that was one heck of a tight scrape.
そうだよ。私だって怖かったし痛かったし、うまくいってくれなきゃ泣くとこだよ。
Pouting, Amane holds a hand to the back of her head. We devised the plan on the run, a trap using a tree branch to momentarily rob Sakashida of his vision, and what made it possible was, in fact, Amane's own hair. With no weapons on hand, we had to devise our own, and as we ran, those long, healthy locks quickly caught my attention. On average, her hairs were a full 120 centimeters long. By tying many strands together, we could use them as substitute trap wires. At first, Amane clapped her hands happily, saying something about finally finding a practical application of digital communication, but... After having nearly 30 strands of hair yanked out of her scalp, she was half crying from the intense pain. Don't be mad, alright? I'm grateful. You were pretty near perfect back there. Squatting down in the darkness in my uniform to lure Sakashida into the open, she'd manipulated the strand of wire in her hand to provide the crucial distraction with impeccable timing. Smart. There might have been 30 meters between them, but she was still at gunpoint. Her composure was nothing short of remarkable under the circumstances. Well done, Amane. This strategy couldn't have succeeded without you. You're getting an official commendation. Amane smiles as I drop my hand on her head and gently scratch her scalp, her cheeks flushing pink. Kind of feels like petting a smart, overgrown puppy that came running back with a tennis ball in its mouth. My only response to Amane's question is a furrowed brow. I've seen this expression before. It's the third kind of face a woman can show you. Not the face of a woman you can kiss. Not the face of a woman you can't kiss. The so-called special case expression. Staring blankly at that expectant, almost demanding face, I suddenly feel very, very tired. Not yet. An expedition isn't over until you reach your front door. Save it for when you get back.
Yuuji?
We're going home. I'm exhausted. Impassively allowing Amane's disgruntled mutterings to roll over my aching back, I'll lead her down the mountain. Sakashida's father we leave on the spot, trussed like a turkey. Once my cell phone finally picks up a signal, I gave JB a call and push everything onto her. Naturally, that shaggy-headed dork doesn't take the news well. It takes a good deal of patient effort to explain the situation, and I end up sentenced to present myself at headquarters for an oral hearing and delivery of a detailed written report. The gunshot wounds on my back are painful enough, but now I've got a pain to deal with as well. His butt actually hurt. A pain in his butt. 1 week after the incident, the wounds on my back had mostly stopped aching. My right arm still supported by a thick sling hanging around my neck. I paid a visit to JB's office at company headquarters to offer my formal explanation.
また面倒な仕事を増やしてくれたわね。
Yeah, you have my sincerest apologies.
あんたってはいっつもそう。朝子もそうだった。
Guess it comes with being at I-09029. Might as well just resign yourself to your fate.
何を偉そうに。だいたいそんな怪我までして。電話では聞いてなかったわよ。
Figured I'd save that for the formal report. What, were you worried or something?
うぬぼれるんじゃないわよ。あなたの体や命はあなたのものじゃないのよ。大事な国の資産なの。わかってる？
Okay, we got out. Bye.